Peter and James and John and led them up a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his clothes became dazzling white, such as no one on earth could bleach them. And there appeared to them Elijah with Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. He did not know what to say, for they were terrified. Then a cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud there came a voice, This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him. Suddenly, when they looked around, they saw no one with them anymore, but only Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, he ordered them to tell no one about what they had seen, until after the Son of Man had risen from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Christ. Grace to you and peace, God the Father, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Be seated. Events in our lifetimes, whether it be, moments that we see something spectacular happening in the heavens, like the blood red moon for some people, or maybe we see some huge spectacular moment in nature, or like Niagara Falls, or maybe we experience something maybe a little closer to home, a little personal, like the birth of a child, or even for some people, I know I have some ranching friends back in further West Texas, and at the birth of every animal, every calf, it's for them, this one rancher, he's been at it for many, many years. He's in his 90s now. And he says, each one is a sacred event. Whether they live or whether they die, a birth is a sacred event. And to hear him tell it, do you think, like for me, it's just a really big, grubby thing. It's just a mess. But for him, he doesn't see it that way at all. For him, it's this beautiful, sacred event that, new life comes into the world. And quite apart from our real understanding. We may understand a little bit of biology, but really life is a mystery to humanity. And so we have those events in our lives that capture our imagination, and if we're lucky, we may have more than 1 or 2 of those events that happen that are just beyond words, sometimes beyond description. And if we take that event, something like that's happened in our lives, we all have had something. Take one of those events in your life and multiply that by infinity, we'll have some idea of what's going on this morning in the transfiguration of Jesus. I think that so many times we get so caught up in the Bible study part of this text, like what's going on with Elijah and Moses and what does this represent, and I'm probably the most guilty of all of that, because I love that kind of stuff. I will totally nerd out. And we do it often in Bible study, not all the time, but quite often, not because of me. But nevertheless, I think those things are really interesting. But in this particular instance, on a Sunday morning, for just these few minutes, I think that it is important that we realize this is so much bigger than all of that. This is so much bigger than what does it mean that so-and-so shows up and this happens. What happens here is this big, huge event that only happens once in all the days that Jesus walked the earth. This is the only time it happened that's recorded, at least, that we know about. It didn't even happen, in his crucifixion. Other things happened, but not this. And even at the resurrection, since no one was actually there at the moment, really, this is it. This is a huge event. Now, in the Hebrew, I will nerd out for just 1 second. In the Hebrew, this wonderful word where it says, "This is my son, listen to him." It can also, it's one of those trick words. It can also be translated "obey him" or "obey," and either listen or obey. I think that's important because there's only 3 times that we have this bold affirmation of who Jesus is, especially in Mark's Gospel. The first time was at the beginning of Epiphany. Does anybody remember what it was? I'll give you a hint. Let me give you a hint. Baptism. Yes, thank you. Baptism. No, that's not. That's funny. So we have baptism, and in that particular instance, this is my son. the beloved and all that. Okay, so here we have almost the exact same words, just a little bit different. This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him. That's really interesting. The third time will be at his death, at the crucifixion by someone that's not expected to say it. But the point is that only 3 times, and this is the second time, it's affirming this big instance in who Jesus is. And it's really interesting. He says, listen to him. We're obeying him. If we stick with the word listen, I'm fine with that. Because it's interesting. Clifton Black, who happens to be a professor from Princeton Theological Seminary, he wrote, actually he reminded us of Igor Stravinsky. I'm not even going to attempt his middle name. If you want to hear, there's others here who can. I'm not that person. But Igor Stravinsky, he said, he goes, to listen is altogether different than just to hear. Anybody can hear, and I'm paraphrasing. He says, and this is interesting to me, he says, even a duck can hear. But to listen is altogether different. And I think he's on to something, particularly, if we move, not just in music, but if we're listening to all the words that Jesus has to say, throughout, especially, let's just stick for now in Mark's gospel. The interesting things that are kind of unique to Mark, he does say follow me in other places, but follow me. If we listen to that, what are we really hearing? And for each one of us, that probably be something a little different, and that's okay. But what does it really mean when he says follow me? A few chapters later, he's going to say, listen and understand what I'm telling you. What does that mean? Later, he's going to say something like, those who want to be first in the kingdom shall be last. And if you want to be a servant, leader in the kingdom of heaven, you have to become a slave to all. What does that mean? Does that mean it's time for us to check out? What do we hear? When we hear those kinds of phrases, this voice, and here comes the nerd self again. The shadow that came down, just like it did on Mount Sinai. Listen to him. Well, if we're going to listen / obey, we really have to stop, I think, corporately, all of us together, and individually. We really need to make time in our lives to stop and really meditate and think on the few things that Jesus said directly to all the people. What does it mean? What does it mean, that this particular event is happening in this bright, glorious moment as we lean into Lent? We're leaning really heavily into Lent. It's just around the corner, Ash Wednesday. What does it mean when he says, follow me on this road to the cross? What does it mean when he says, you give them something to eat? What does it mean when he makes these comments, and we'll hear a lot of those throughout Lent? What does it mean, when he takes up a woman's hand and then suddenly she's restored into full community, as the matriarch of the family, and it's one of those sacred moments. What does it mean when he says rise up to her? What does it mean when he says rise up to us? What do we hear? This isn't, there's not a lot, I think, that can be misunderstood. So many times I think that we can take Jesus' words and we can interpret them and do a lot of different things. Some things I think are just, when he says, you shall love one another, I think he meant that. I don't think there's a mystery in that. And, so what does it mean then to love one another? Well, what does it mean to love the people you already love? Does it mean that when they get sick, you walk away? Does it mean that when bad things happen, that you turn your back? Does it mean that when they end up on the street, you just act like you don't see it? Does it mean when someone needs help that you give them a questionnaire? When it's your family, your friends, people you know and you love already, what does it mean then to reach out in love? Does it mean something totally different to the people you love and care about, people in your circle, than it does to your neighbor? Oh, there's another one of those words. What does it mean to love neighbor? I mean, it's a chain reaction, and I think that as we lean into Lent, that it's important that we're going to have some time for this. Just heads up. On not Ash Wednesday, but the Wednesdays following in Lent, we're going to do some Taizé services, which means that there's going to be some built-in quiet time. And you can take one of these phrases, any one you like, maybe one we talked about on Sunday, or maybe one that you're reading during the day, any of these different phrases that that hit you, there's going to be some time on those Wednesdays just for you and God. No telephones, no distractions, nothing but you and God. Because it seems to me that this is one of those places, and by here, I mean, I really do mean that generic across the whole Catholic Church, the whole church, universal, regardless of the shingle. This is the one place that we can come together and we can talk about not only what do these weird words mean that basically the church made up. Transfiguration, really, who uses that word? Does anyone ever hear it during the year except at church? No. So, but this is one place we can come and talk about it. What does it mean? And what does it mean when he says, listen to him, my beloved? This is the one place where a little girl can come up here who is every bit the theologian as any of the rest of us in this room. She's every bit as a student, a theologian. God has spoken to her every bit as much as God has spoken to you and me or anyone else in this room. And can welcome her to the Lord's table and say, there is a place for you. This is one of those safe places where you can come in here. And I know that church doesn't always feel that safe. But it seems to me that it is one of those places that if we listen, it really is. This is the place we hear about forgiveness. This is the place we hear about, people who it's easy for us to compare ourselves to others. You think, well, I'm not a murderer. I'm not a this or I'm not a that. Well, maybe not. Directly. But how many times have we assassinated someone's character? Maybe without even knowing. How many times have we killed someone's self-esteem without even trying? How many times have we, maybe we didn't actually nail the nails into Jesus' wrists, hands, however you want to look at that, like maybe the Romans did. But whether we did or whether we didn't, and whether we took part in any of these other places, there's another one of those interesting phrases that's going to come up later that's going to say, forgive them. Do we really listen to that? Do we really? I think it's one thing to accept Jesus' forgiveness, and it's an altogether different thing to accept forgiveness from ourselves. And if Jesus can forgive us, and he says, follow me, then shouldn't we forgive ourselves for just a few things? I think they go hand in hand. I think that's part of what this obey business is all about, this listening and obeying, is if we're going to follow his way of being in the world, which was all about not just forgiving, but bringing wholeness back to people's lives, reestablishing them in a full community. If we're going to listen to that stuff, and we really are going to follow and step out in faith, it seems to me that part of that following is being the kind of person that Jesus was, which was all about compassion, not just for other people, but for ourselves as well. I think the church needs to hear that. Because it's awfully hard to love someone else if you're not loving yourself. It's awfully hard to reach out and forgive someone else if you can't forgive yourself. It's awfully hard to reach out and give someone else a hand if you want to give yourself a hand. It's awfully hard to reach out and care about someone if there's no self-care happening. Listen to him, he says. Listen, obey, but for just now, just for this one moment in time, in just a few minutes, we're going to sing a song, it's good for us to be here, or something like that. And just for this one moment in time, imagine yourself on that mount. If you have to close your eyes to do it, do it. And then hear those words. It really is good for us to be here. Because here we get that other vision of God's heart. There's a lot of visions out there in the world and in our culture. There's a lot of different visions of what God's heart looks like, and it has to do with long bearded scorecard. And yet we come to church, we see a whole different vision of a God dying for you and for me, saying, forgive them all. Because there's a place for all of them.